The Last of Us will undoubtedly become a cult TV series. The first season easily proved that the game's storyline model works just as effectively in a television format. The second part of the game will be adapted into at least 2 seasons. We have already talked in detail about what to expect in the second season in one of our previous videos, and we have decided to also talk about the events of the first season of The Last of Us. Who is Abby? Why does she hate Ellie so much? And how will they turn Ellie into Joel in the third season of The Last of Us? Well, get comfortable, because our journey into a very dark future begins. As for the future, unfortunately, that's really the case. It takes at least 2 years to produce any HBO series, and therefore the second season of The Last of Us will be released in 2025, and the third season, which we'll talk about today, will not start before 2027. But don't be discouraged. We waited 13 years for a sequel to Avatar, and here it's just a couple of years. And as before, we want to emphasize the theme of this video. Spoilers! We will not reveal the grand finale of The Last of Us 2, but we will try to shed light on the main plot points so that you have a rough idea of what to expect. And here, unfortunately, spoilers are inevitable, so we warned you, and now we can move on. In our previous video, we already mentioned that the events in Salt Lake City from the series finale will have consequences, serious consequences. Joel killed a bunch of innocent Fireflies who were not the last representatives of the organization. For example, the same doctor who tried to stop Joel had a daughter named Abby. The girl grew up with her father among the Fireflies. Abby loves collecting coins, and also a guy named Owen, who was a very close friend of hers. So one terrible day, Abby and her father go into the woods to help a poor zebra, and Owen finds them, informing the doctor that they brought the girl with a bite to the hospital who didn't get infected. Naturally, we're talking about Ellie. Chronologically, the second season could begin with the scene with the zebra, as it is parallel to when Ellie and Joel were brought to the hospital. It is unknown what Abby was doing during the shootout, but after it ended, she went to the operating room, where Owen and the doctor, Abby's father, who had been killed by Joel, were already present. There were very few Fireflies left in Salt Lake City, so after some time, all the survivors decide to head to Seattle to join another organization called the Washington Liberation Front, or simply WLF. As you already know from our previous video, upon returning to Jackson, Ellie and Joel try to start a normal life. 5 years pass within the plot since the events in Salt Lake City. You already know what Ellie and Joel did, but what did Abby do? She tried to somehow get her life back on track after what happened. Nightmares about the day her father died plagued her, and she dedicated herself to revenge. Training became her mantra. Abby formed her iron body and gained an incredible physical form. For those who are not familiar with the game, the girl's appearance may seem repulsive, but there are many explanations in the plot and even dedicated lines for this. It becomes clear that Joel's actions greatly influenced Abby. While her friends were having fun, she was exercising and working out in the gym, not even missing a training session when they weren't scheduled. And all of this is presented as nightmares about that same day. In addition, she tried to repair her relationship with Owen and get closer to him. Although Owen was receptive, Abby's main goal was training and revenge. In the end, she rejected Owen, and he didn't try to break Abby's iron will again. Eventually, he started dating and living with a girl named Mel. Mel was Abby's father's student, and after his death, became one of the top doctors among the WLF. According to the game's plot, Mel became pregnant shortly before the event. Here we come to the most interesting part. During one of the Abby's outings, her squad comes across a cabin where they decide to spend the night. At night, Owen takes Abby away from everyone and shows her his discovery, Jackson, the same city where Ellie, Joel, Tommy, Maria and our other familiar characters live. The same city where Abby's target is located, but she doesn't know it yet. At some point, after a fight with Owen, Abby decides to explore the nearby area on her own and luckily stumbles upon a whole horde of infected, from which she is rescued by Tommy and Joel. Together, the three travelers miraculously escape the ambush, and Abby offers the guys to hide in the cabin where her squad is staying at the moment. After reaching a safe place, Joel and Tommy introduce themselves to their new acquaintances, which is their extremely foolish mistake. Trusting strangers, they don't realize that they are facing the very people whose lives they ruined. More precisely, it was Joel who did it. Almost the entire squad of Abby consists of former Fireflies who lost absolutely everything after the massacre in Salt Lake City. Tommy is knocked out and Joel is brutally tortured and killed right in front of Ellie's eyes. Undoubtedly, this is the most brutal scene in the entire story. However, in the context of all the events outside that cabin, it only makes you hate Abby. But as you travel with her for half the way and feel all her pain from losing her father, you begin to understand that Joel ruined her life and her actions are even justified. After these events, Abby and her people return to Seattle and Ellie and Tommy gradually recover in Jackson. Tommy is the first to leave, dreaming of avenging his brother. Maria, Tommy's wife, wants to bring her husband home and knowing that Ellie is also planning to go on the journey, asks her about it. Thus, Ellie also sets out to search for Joel's killers, taking her girlfriend Dina with her. While exploring Seattle, the girls gradually begin to find clues about the whereabouts of wolves and even come across some members of Abby's group. As a result, Ellie gradually becomes more ruthless, killing a lot of people while learning about another gang in the area, the Seraphites, or Scars as they are more commonly known in the game. These guys are real sectarians living on an island and waging an almost irreconcilable war against Abby's wolves. After some time, Ellie sets out alone to track down Abby's friend Nora. The lead leads Ellie to a hospital where, as a result of a lively shootout, she manages to find Nora. However, the girl doesn't want to simply give up her friend, and Ellie tortures her truly and very cruelly. In this way, Ellie learns that Abby is hiding in an aquarium. Later, Ellie, along with Jesse, Dina's friend and father of her unborn child, sets out for that same aquarium where Abby is supposedly hiding. As it turns out, Jesse separates to search for Tommy, while Ellie goes to the aquarium alone, where she meets Owen and Mel. As a result of a small altercation, Ellie kills Owen, Abby's friend and love of her life, and Mel, a pregnant woman. In a moment of grief and despair, Ellie finds Tommy and Jesse, and the three of them head back to Dina's hideout in the theater. But where was Abby all this time? The events unfolded in such a way that after Joel's execution in the cabin, things didn't get any better for Abby. Nightmares still plagued her, and there was no relief in life. After all, Owen was with Mel, and she was pregnant. And on one of the missions, Owen got into a nasty situation, so Abby had to go herself, making her way through infected and scars. Ultimately, Abby meets two Seraphites, Yara and Lev. They become her new friends, despite being from warring groups. At some point, Yara is seriously injured, and Abby decides to help the girl at all costs. And then Lev runs away to the Scar Island to save his mother. Abby, realizing that the boy won't come back, sets out to find him and takes Yara with her, while Owen and Mel stay at the aquarium, where they ultimately meet Ellie. After returning from the island, Abby and Lev find Owen and Mel dead, as well as information about Ellie, Dina and the others' hideout. Thus, Abby is left with literally nothing, and her vengeance becomes an obsession. Abby and Lev find Ellie and her friends and effectively defeat our heroes. But at the last moment, they stop and lead them alive, telling them never to be seen again. There is a small time jump, and we see that Dina and Ellie are living happily and peacefully on a farm, raising a child that Dina and Jesse had conceived before the events of the series. But Ellie has essentially become Abby. The scene of Joel's murder haunts her again and again, both in nightmares and in reality. And so, despite her girlfriend's pleas, she sets out on a solo journey to find Abby. Ellie abandons her happy life just to kill the one who took Joel from her. In the end, Ellie finds Abby and Lev, but they are no longer the heroes we knew before. Having been trapped some time ago, the strong Abby and her friend are on the brink of death, and therefore their confrontation with Ellie cannot be called equal. As for the final of this cruel story, we suggest that you find out for yourself, because it is definitely worth buying the console and playing the game if you haven't already. And we eagerly wait the distant year 2027 and hope that Neil Druckmann and HBO can adequately adapt all the subtle details of The Last of Us Part 2 without messing up the key moments. That was all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. See you in the next one.